Hello and welcome to my knife channel. Well, what I thought I'd go over is how I sharpen my knives. Now, a lot of times when you get a knife, I had to look through most of my collection to even find one that I haven't sharpened or touched up in any way. And this is the Rough Ryder Tailgate Trapper. It only has one blade, and the other where you would have a blade is a can opener slash bottle opener, screwdriver. Not a can opener, it's a bottle opener. When you get these, they say they're razor sharp, and they usually are pretty sharp out of the box. And the way I test them is I get a piece of paper and I go to cut it, and I'm trying to go the length of the cut. So if I start down here, I want to, as I'm cutting, pull up as I go along. And it feels like I've stropped this one at least, because it's usually it'll cut through the paper fine, but you'll feel it grabbing and getting a little toothy. And what I do is I look at the paper where it's cut, and I look for any ragged edges. And then if you look at the knife, a lot of times pieces of paper will hang in on the area, that needs to be honed or sharpened. So for the longest time, besides a regular just stone and trying to freehand, I've used a Lansky system. Only recently have I gotten this base and this handle attachment for it. And I've switched all of the original ones in here were stones, and I've switched all of those to diamonds, basically diamond stones. So I've got a coarse diamond here. I'll switch this back to zoom or regular. This is a wide angle right now just to show you all the different stuff I use, but that one is if you want to reprofile a blade, which I'll show you we're going to do on this one when I zoom in on it and show you the edge of it. So I'll go through the whole setup where I set up the Lansky system. I set up the angle, I clamp it on the blade, and I'll tell you the tips and tricks, that are maybe things that I've done over the years. One of the biggest improvements to really help is like these crock sticks. They basically, if you want to just touch up a blade, like you don't want to reprofile it, but you want to get it a little bit sharper or touch it up, you put in like the coarse stone. I usually go with the 20-degree angle on this this block right here. But if you had a milling drill or a drill that will let you change the angle, you could measure the angle over here and get put over here like maybe a 17-degree one also right in the middle, or if you're using an axe or tougher stuff, you could put a 30-degree in there and customize it. Also on the back, I've seen people put pieces of leather back here so that you have a strop. That's another good little thing that I need to add to this. But this only costs like 20 bucks. It comes with ceramic, stones, and it really does a good job. Usually you just run, when you set the angles in, you just keep your knife straight. You start at one edge and you just work your way back and you pull down, and then you go to the other side. Try to do equal amounts on either side so that you don't form a burr, or you keep it even. And then usually just stropping it. That has been the biggest improvement to my sharpening, because usually I could get a workable edge and everything, but it'd be toothy. It would go through and cut, but there'd be areas that were just not straight. And if you tried to reprofile it or whatever, you usually mess up. But a strop is the thing that you really need if you want to get it razor sharp. And basically, you just hold the bevel on there of what it is. You're not pushing real hard, and you just come back, and you're never going towards it. You're just basically pulling away, trying to get the whole surface of the knife on there, and just a few times of stropping on that will usually get this thing to be like, if it was having a problem cutting hair before, it'll be super sharp after that. And that's the biggest improvement. Now it has a coarse side, you know, what you can use to like rough, and then it has a smoother side. This smoother side, the finer grain leather and everything, really hones out that blade. It gets rid of all the little sharp edges. But what we're going to go through is the complete sharpening system. And next I'm going to turn this off right now, and then I'm going to go into the zoom mode, and we'll look at the edge that we've got here. Alright, I've got this thing zoomed in. I'll try to keep it in focus. If you can look at this edge, it starts off wide here. It gets thinner in the middle and then widens out. It's not super pronounced, but you can see it. This side is not as bad. It maintains it over here. It gets pretty thin right up here on the edge, up on the end. You can use one of these things. They're kind of harder. I'm getting used to using it, but it's a Richard Kell angle finder, and it takes kind of some skill to use this thing. It gives some instructions and everything in there, but you can basically follow along the blade, and what you're trying to do is find out where the angle, you get equal amount, like you can lay the bottom side over here on the bottom bevel of the knife, and then pull back up. This is the way I use it. Then pull back and see if it matches the top angle over there, and you just keep doing that until you find where the bottom matches the top. And to me, that's the angle on that. Now they make apps that you can put your phone on there and put an angle on it. There's also magnetic angle reading gauges and stuff like that, that you could put maybe a piece of metal, you know, equal on that, and you know, because they usually have a magnetic base on those angle finders. But all of that is not super important right now, because built into the Lansky system is a setup for 17, 20, 25, and 30 degrees. I usually run with 20 most of the time. 17 is better for like razor blades and kitchen knives or anything like that that you want real sharp. The thing about a really sharp edge is the denser material you run into, the more likely that edge is to roll or chip or basically dull over faster. You know, a razor edge can go fine against paper for quite a while, but when you start hitting wood or anything denser, then that razor edge will probably dull out after a while. Now we're just talking about this 440A, which is perfectly fine for what we're going to do, because when you have to reprofile or resharpen it, reprofiling it, changing the angle to, we're going to make it basically consistent 20 degrees across. So I'll show you next how I set up my sharpening system. Like I said, I don't really use this gauge that much. It's nice to have, but I do use it occasionally where I'm like, what is the primary angle that they were trying to get on this, you know? And it's not just Rough Ryder. There's a lot of different knives that sometimes the edge grind, you know, that it's not always done by a machine. Sometimes it's done by a person, and they're holding it there, and it just depends, you know, how much did they have to drink the night before, or what they're thinking about, you know, or if somebody interrupts them. On a machine that's doing it, just holding it there and just making the edge, it's usually more consistent, but not always. Sometimes it doesn't know what to do. It has to change its angle when it comes down to the end here. I really haven't seen a whole lot of machine operation of making knives, but I'm just going off what I know from sharpening my own knives. Like I said, I'm not an expert on this, but I can usually manage to get it to do fairly well.